Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mark is absent. Erica?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
And JJ is absent.
Would you join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for who you are. You're the great I am, Father. We thank you so much for the way you blessed our city. We pray you continue to do so and bless everyone in our city, Lord. We love you and thank you for everything. Forgive us where we fail you, Lord. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
First item on the agenda is the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion from Erica. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, and that is approved. Next item on the agenda is the July 28th minutes. And we actually have 3 sets in the packet. One is the draft that you got in the email. One is a clean version, but in the transition, we lost the date, and we also took out the items that didn't occur in the meeting. And then, having realized the date was not on there, we came back and amended a little bit further, added the date, and then there were 2 statements that we added wording for clarity, and it's in Jake's report. On the very top line of the second page, went back and listened to the recording, and it states that the IRS payment confusion is primarily from Q1, Q2, Q3 of 2025, and that it is now all clean. So I added those words. It also states in the next to last bullet point that the city is, it states in the original one that the city is depositing refund checks, and we're not depositing them. As the statement below says, we accidentally deposited one, we're holding them. So I adjusted it to say we're receiving refund checks that are being held until the remaining 941s are processed. And that's the only other changes that were made, and I would entertain a motion to approve the amended version with the date on it.
So moved.
Mayor,
Got a motion from Mike. Do I hear a second?
I would like to ask the council.
It's not open for discussion yet. It's not on the table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Jeremy. Now it's open for discussion.
So you removed the no vote second to table the city financials for the past 14 months?
Yeah, that didn't happen. It wasn't in the,
I
that was,
understand, that's why it's noted in the council minutes that no vote was taken.
and there's a number of things that didn't happen in the meeting, and this is supposed to be a record of your meeting.
This is a record.
It's not I mean, you didn't talk about us not going fishing or not eating out, because that didn't happen in the meeting.
Point, I stick to city business, please.
I am.
No, sir.
Mayor.
I'm not going to remove
Can we,
these from the minutes.
can we see what Justin has to say, please?
Mayor, I reviewed the minutes as well, and I believe that I thought I might give you all a little bit of background on minutes that would be helpful. First of all, this is the council's meeting. Okay, you all control the agenda. You control collectively what gets adopted, the order of business that occurs. You also control how the meetings are conducted. So we have an ordinance that we revisit every so often to do that. Just realized I didn't have the microphone. You have an ordinance, an organizational ordinance that sets forth how that business takes part. I've been asked by a couple of you, what does the law say with regard to minutes? The answer to that is not a lot. It says that the clerk presents or shall keep a regular and correct journal of the proceedings. So it's supposed to document the proceedings of what happens. Outside of that, there's some guidance that has been put out there by groups, the Clerks Association, the Municipal League, which I think is always helpful, and it advises to keep a generally concise but clear description of the actions of the council, so what you all actually do. And it also advises to have like a sufficient description of the process, so that it can be seen that the procedures are being followed. So you can tell that there's a quorum, right? So you can tell that an emergency clause is voted on, things like that. But all that points to actions of the council. And what my concern has been on a couple of minutes is that we've gone through kind of different styles on minutes over the years. I think in our ordinance, we've become a little tighter on that, on what's to be required. On the business for tonight is a change to the ordinance that you all saw in the work session that kind of further tightens that up. But in the past, you've gotten some accounts that are attempted to be verbatim, where somebody tries to write everything that's being said. Other times when it's more of a summary. And the thing that I would advise, and I think that the advice from the Municipal League is a good one, is that this should be really a concise and clear description of the actions. And my concern with having commentary in there is that it drifts away from that. And it starts, and again, these are minutes that are proposed to you. You all can amend those. You all can do sometimes. Over times we found somebody's raised their hand and said, well, I didn't make that motion, or whatever the correction may be. But we have recordings now. We have, the meetings are being live streamed. We have video recordings. We also have audio recordings, and the law states that we need to keep an audio recording of the meeting for at least 1 year. I would advise that we keep them longer, because there have been many times where we have to go back and look and see what was said and what was done. And those recordings are good because they are full recording. You can go back and look at a meeting and see exactly what was said. So I think the minutes need to be concise. I think they need to actually show the actions of the council. And I think they need to have enough detail to show that the procedure was being followed, right? That there's, that on our passage of ordinances, or different processes that we have, that's being done. The rest of it, I don't think that needs to be there, and I think it causes kind of issues and confusion. If you need more detail, you can go look at the recordings. You can watch the video. You can kind of get into some more depth. So that was my feeling on the topic. So I got asked by a couple of you, so I wanted to share that. But I think it's your meeting. You can accept the minutes. You can amend the minutes. And I think you've taken some steps by addressing the ordinance and kind of making that tighter, so that you don't run into these kind of issues.
Any further discussion?
Well, yeah, there actually is.
I'm sorry.
I'm not done with my questions.
Oh, fine.
Is that okay? So you're making an amendment to remove the no-vote statement to pay city financials for the past 15 months, correct?
Yes.
And you're also making a note to remove the water and sewer financial statements for August 25th, or 2025, or April 2026, were not approved by the city council, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I guess to me, it would be different if those statements were actually stated in the meeting, if it's supposed to be an accurate account, like Justin said, and then anybody that needs to, we have the meeting minutes clearly to show that that statement is true and that other one, but we did not say that at the meeting, so if it's supposed to be an accurate account, then the new one is the most accurate account of what was actually stated at the meeting, in my opinion.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And that did pass. Next item on the agenda is the financials, and Jake is here to speak to those for the city financials.
Good evening. I hope everybody's had a chance to take a look at the financials. I don't have a lot of call-outs for tonight. I've got a couple. I feel like at this stage we're past the cleanup portion of what we're working on, and now we're moving on into refining our processes, our reporting structure, the way we're presenting the financials, making some tweaks in those type of things. And other than that, it's kind of business as usual, month-to-month reporting. A couple of the things as far as presentation of the financials, the call-outs that I'd like to make. We discussed the sales and use tax in the last meeting that had previously not been reported on the city financials. Those currently show in the general fund, if you've got those in front of you, the statement of revenue and expenditures. It's the very last line of the general revenues, the sales and use tax 1.25%. I spoke with the mayor yesterday, and he made a proposal to me about how to present those, and I agreed with his opinion on that. We're going to take that, we're going to move that out of the general fund. We're going to create a debt service fund for that to show that separately. It hasn't been budgeted for. There's an expenditure that corresponds with that. They effectively wash each other out. It's not a net zero, but they're pretty close to washing each other out. So we're going to move that out of the general fund into a debt service fund. We'll still report it. It'll just be isolated as a separate reporting instance instead of including it in the general fund. It just kind of cleans up the general fund. It doesn't provide such a broad difference in the actual to the budget in the revenues and expenditure sides. So we're going to make that adjustment to the financials going forward. One other item that I wanted to call out, if you look down in the fund balances section of the general fund, statement of revenues and expenditures, near the bottom of the page, you might notice that math doesn't look right, where you have a beginning fund balance of 1.36 million, a net change in fund balance of 514,000, and an ending fund balance of 1.422 million. That math does not work. This is a reporting issue that we're going to work on cleaning up. Basically, the general fund is broken down into multiple reports. You have to take that net change in fund balance from all the reports that are behind it, add those together to get that net change. So the actual ending fund balance is correct at 1.422 million. So there was an increase in the fund balance of $62,184 for the month as the administration expenses. We're still battling the health benefits a little bit. What we had seen from the beginning of the year is the payable balance for health insurance was growing and growing and growing, and the payment was never relieving that balance. So we adjusted how we were doing that and cleared out the payable balance, but whenever the payment is now hitting the expenses, it's all hitting the general fund, and there's some fund allocation issues with that. It's not an issue in total as far as the change in fund balance, but it is a fund issue from one fund to the next and how that should be allocated out. So we're going to reevaluate how we're treating that and get that to where that's going to be more of an automated, ongoing process, and we don't have to address that each and every month. So that's the one thing that we're still trying to nail down there, and we'll get that cleaned up and corrected. By the next working session, we'll have these financials ready to go for you to go ahead and approve and move forward from there. But in total, the net change in fund balance, we're on track. Everything's moving the way it should. We're going to fix that health insurance, and we're going to be in good shape after that. Any questions?
I'm not an accountant. So I'd like to be able to see this was the income of the general fund, this was the expenses, and this is the difference.
We're gonna do that. That's gonna be part of the adjustment. So I spoke to the mayor beforehand and mentioned to him what we want to do with refining the reporting is that what we have, this packet that you have for the general fund is broken down into the different departments underneath the general fund. We're gonna have a total front page. It's gonna have revenues, expenditures. It's gonna have the full fund balance for the general fund, the starting, change, ending. And so you're gonna have one total summary at the front. So that'll provide what you're looking for there. And then we'll have these pages to follow. So it'll just be broken down into the different departments, the funds underneath the general fund. And we're gonna take away that fund balance that doesn't math. We're gonna get that completely off of there. So it'll only roll up in the total, which is where it should be.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, I don't have an update on the IRS at this point. I have not heard anything new from them on any of the 941s that we've seen. So we're still waiting to hear from them on
Okay, so by next meeting, the debt service, we're gonna work on the funding balance and the health aspect, and all of that will be good to go, and you'll have a summary sheet on top. Great, I appreciate that. With the IRS, were you able to get into the program to pay that one check that was cash?
that. I followed up on that today, and that had not been done. That is going to be done tomorrow. So it has not been paid yet.
Oh,
It will be paid tomorrow.
Mayor, could you send a follow-up email and let the council know when it was paid?
We'll do.
So if you communicate with him and that's done, or show him,
Cheryl will be here tomorrow. She's going to be
Yeah.
there. She's here.
and then send out an email to, that said it's paid to all parties here that are elected officials. Thank you.
That's fine.
What was that?
But you hear me down here, they need to make more directly at you.
I was asking if we could get that paid and then send all elected officials an individual email to let them know it's paid. Because I was hoping that would be, I thought that was going to be done after the last meeting, but we need to make sure that's paid back. Since it was accidentally cashed. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the water and sewer financials, and I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion from Erica, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mark, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. That one's approved. Next item on the agenda is the fire department report.
The only update I have is on the building. Another one of the subs came by last week for the door enclosures that are leaking. So I sent him a list of those problems. So hopefully those will be fixed in the next few weeks. And AWJ Electric, he has the parts ordered needed to fix the lights. So that's being worked on. So it's a little progress, unless Justin has any other updates. Any questions for them?
Have all the subs that needed to come in to fix issues come in and touch base with you, or are you still waiting on some?
Oh no, we're still waiting on the big issues like the roof. That's going to be the big one. And I've not heard anything on it. And I tried to call Susan today and left her a message, so I should probably hear back from her in the next day or two.
Okay.
On that. She's working on it.
Yes, she is, and we're going towards a mediation. The subs, remember, the subs were brought in by the general contractor. The general contractor sued the subs, and so a number of them that had kind of more discrete issues are the ones that have popped in to do the fixing of various items. The roof is the lion's share of the issue. So the roofing subcontractor, the contractor, and some of the other subs will still be in the mitigation.
How much damage is, if any, is that roof causing?
So it is leaking in 2 or 3 spots in the bay. I don't know if it's leaking anywhere in the attic space above the training room or living quarters. I've not seen anything penetrate the roof in there, but I do have some leaking in the bay where our trucks are. So until they get it torn off and exposed, I'm not sure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is the police report.
You guys have the numbers in front of you if you have any questions about any of those. Most of you guys know we're down another guy. He got injured away from work, so he'll be out for a couple more weeks. When it rains, it pours, I guess. But he'll be back in a couple weeks. So we're doing all right now.
After he comes back, then you're fully staffed?
Yes.
Perfect.
So yeah, like, we're not hiring anybody right now.
No, you're right. We're done. We hired a couple of guys in the past couple months.
But we didn't lose anybody, just some people out temporarily.
Well, we did lose one. He left. He moved back to Texas.
So we hired somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Yes.
just level setting with what she said.
Yeah.
So good.
We're all right now. We just want to get them both back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is planning report.
Good evening. Planning Commission met last week. A few items on the agenda. First one was the updated site plans for the ESCH property. This is actually the Sonic site development plan. We discussed that last week. It's currently tabled at this time. They had some different items they discussed at the work session, bring it back. Really don't think there's going to be any issues with it at the meeting next week. So, and also next week, as everyone's aware, our meeting is on a Tuesday the 1st. So we had to move it because of the interference with the first day of the month falling on a Tuesday. So, and the holiday. The next item was the variance for Hannah and Benjamin Mestra. This is a individual home lot located in one of the subdivisions up off Wallace Road, and they're just looking for a reduction in their rear setbacks. They have a 20-foot utility easement in the back of that. Their rear setbacks are typically 25. They're asking to reduce that down to the 20-foot that we out of all of the easements and everything else that are still existing. Big item that we have is the site development plans for Walmart. This is property right at the end of Wallace Road, right on 112, where it tees into it. And they've got a site development plan. We're currently actively reviewing it. Our engineers just finished their second review submittal of it. I talked to the engineer record for that today. They're going to resubmit Thursday is what they're hoping at the latest. So we'll have some new resubmitted plans to go to the Planning Commission. Basically at this point to address some of the items that were concerned during that meeting as far as parking lot islands and things like that were part of the variance that is the next item on the agenda.
I have a question about that one, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
I listened to the meeting, and so they're wanting, they would put a light on Wallace.
They have a light planned temporary traffic signal like we have down here and like what is existing at Pleasant Road and Haxton and 112.
Okay.
So that intersection is slated to get a roundabout. It always has been with RDOT and the 112 improvements. They're going to put a temporary traffic signal in the meantime. Their site plan takes into account everything that is needed for the roundabout. They know there's gonna be a roundabout. They're actually stubbing their entrance out to tie to a roundabout essentially. They've already coordinated all that with RDOT, and this is kind of an interim facility just to make sure that once it kind of becomes a four-way, it's safer.
Chief, do you think that, just a question for you that I thought of during the meeting, do you have issues at Wallace there? Would that light be beneficial?
Which one?
Either chief, I mean, police chief maybe.
We
since-
all do. We have multiple rollovers over there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. This side makes it. There's a lot of accidents there.
Yes, sir.
So do you think that light along, would it be timed with this light usually, or are we gonna be backed up light to light? Is that possible?
I don't know if it'll be backed up like the line. I don't think it's backed up that far now.
Okay.
It will definitely cut back on the severity of accidents for sure.
So when you have accidents there, they're bad?
The Wallace and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky. That's a tricky spot. I think there's a blind spot.
Wallace is designed, it's kind of like on an angle.
Yep.
So, and then there's a hill, if you're trying to pull out.
I never pulled out on Wallace.
Yeah, if you look to your left, there's a hill and a curve, so you can't just slowly pull out of Wallace. I mean, if you're gonna go, you go. And there has been some pretty good accidents there.
Okay, so that would definitely, that stoplight with the
And
roundabout
of course,
coming.
the fire department responds to it as well, so they're out there. A lot of times, someone's gonna be injured at that particular accident, for sure.
So that would definitely help public
Oh,
safety.
I would think it would cut down the severity of the accident, for sure.
Okay, just a question I had. All right, thank you.
I echo that. I've lived on Wallace and driven that intersection daily for close to 20 years. And don't see a lot of accidents, but when you do see an accident, it's not great. But Walmart's got a variance request. This is for islands in the parking lot. They were wanting to waive the requirement for landscape islands inside the parking lot itself. I had some discussion back and forth with the planning commission. I think they're going to revise some things. They were wanting to waive all of the islands, and I don't think that was necessarily seen as a positive thing from a just beautification, heat island effect that all those parking lots create. So they actually were showing striped end cap islands instead of actual curb and green space. So hopefully at least whatever I see on Thursday at least gives us some end cap islands and some green space vegetation, and where they were already showing a striped non-parking area. So it just kind of made sense for them to put those in.
So that would fall in line more, because I did listen to the meeting. So what they were kind of wanting to do would be like the Bentonville store where it's just a blanket parking lot. Basically.
You mean the super center?
The super center. Because there's just stalls, I don't recall the
Yeah.
islands.
So yes, I would. It's not a super center, obviously. I would say yes, you're correct. Like that,
Is
or
it
Rogers. You know, the old super centers before cities kind of put these landscape requirements in effect. The most recent one I would say that's very similar to this would be, if you're familiar with it, is the Greenhouse Road neighborhood market in Centerton. Where you're going down 102 towards Centerton, Greenhouse Road tees right into it. Right across from it, just like on Wallace, is a Walmart neighborhood market. And I've gone in there from time to time. It's not easy to get into. That parking lot is always full. They have no landscaping. It's kind
Okay,
of a
I know
hot
exactly
mess.
what you're talking about.
But just on on the closer reference scale, that's what I would.
But then, like,
So this-
Rogers has the islands. That's
It won't.
neighborhood
I don't think
market.
we're trying to get anything near as fancy as the Pinnacle Neighborhood Market by no means.
Okay.
And I don't think that they referenced that, and that question was posed, but, I think we would like to see them at least put some of our requirements in, not just blanket wipe all of them out. And I think that, hopefully that's what we see on Thursday. I feel that's what was indicated to me in the email response I got today, so.
All right, thank you for that. That makes more sense to me.
Okay. Last item is with a general discussion for a site development plan, essentially a subdivision This is in the county. It's located up off Morningstar Road and, sorry, I didn't put the other road in there. Morningstar and Phillips Cemetery. The majority of it actually will face Phillips Cemetery. The address, there's currently a house there and it's addressed off Morningstar, and that's why it says that. But this is a large, like close to 80-acre piece of land. There's multiple parcels involved. It's currently in the county. They're looking at doing some annexation, so you'll become familiar with this once all of that kind of goes through and we do the annexation part of it. But they had a very preliminary layout. They were just wanting to get the planning commission's feedback on it. So, and I like it when some of the developers do that. The one we have before you tonight, or yes, before you tonight, you know, they did that with the Simpson Trust. So that leads into the items you'll have before you tonight. You have the rezoning for the Vitt property. We talked about both of these at the work session. And then we have the rezoning for the Mortensen Trust. The Vitt property's fairly simple, just rezone of some kind of estate-sized lots. And then the Mortensen and Simpson Trust on Main Street is a PZD with commercial along Main Street and single-family residential behind it. If y'all have any questions, once we get to those, I think we at least have one of the applicants here, or I can work on answering those.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Next is the water and sewer report, and Will is out. Do you have anything?
You can add a couple items. You've got your monthly breakdown public works report that Will typically provides. You'll notice our water loss did tick up just a little bit this past month. Not to be, because it was expected, because they did find some additional leaks, or have been finding additional leaks. So you'll see that there's 12 of them they've identified, and they fixed about 10 in this time frame. I will note, I was visiting with Will last week, that such dry conditions many times are much worse than freezing weather when it comes to water lines, because the ground is dry, shrinks, and causes some additional fractures. So they're experiencing some of that now. He has been seeing a little more water come to the surface, so that's been able to help out. As far as projects ongoing, nothing really to speak of. The utility relocates for Highway 112 are still moving forward. The north section, we're still working with landowners to obtain easements for that before we advertise and bid it. And then we are working with the Water Sewer Committee the last 2 months. We've identified a project just south of town to go for grant funding to extend the gravity sewer. If you can think it's east of our Linacre lift station, that would carry gravity sewer to the east to try to capture, so where the Hillcrest subdivision is. No guarantees on it. If you don't submit, you will not get it. We do know that. So we're going to go ahead and prepare that grant application and get that submitted. Any questions on the water and sewer side?
Thank you. Next is the engineer report.
The engineer's report, I'll be pretty brief on that as well. Main item we've got now is the Wallace Road and Sands Road sidewalk project that's ongoing. That job's about 70% complete, and they recently, last couple of weeks, demobilized from the project. They have to wait until November due to environmental issues with for the environmental study by RDOT. So they can't remove any trees until that time frame. So they'll remobilize and complete the project once that date gets here. I think that's the main.
It's a little dense, or a little, it can be a little confusing. And so I think it's a good thing to probably read, and then we can talk about maybe more in the work session if you have questions. But I wanted to talk about the Fairway Valley roads in easements. Of course, that's a subdivision over there by the golf course. The issue, as we talked about in previous meetings, if you go on GIS, or if you look up the ownership of the right-of-ways within Fairway Valley, they show to be owned by third parties and not by the city. So, for example, Pebble Beach is owned by Northwest Land Development LLC. Torrentine Lane is owned by Northwest Land Development on the northern part, and Creeks Golf Course on the southern part. Same thing with Deer Run, same thing with Sawgrass. The reason for this, and I've had a couple meetings with Daniel McClellan about this as well, is that we pulled the final plats for those subdivisions. The first one was done in 2011, the second one in 2016, and all this is in that memo. Those final plats do not contain any dedication language. So normally in our plats, whether it's a large scale or say it's a final plat within a residential subdivision, there is dedication language there that explains what infrastructure, what type of interest are being dedicated to the city. These plats do not have any of that dedication language. So when those plats were filed at the real estate records, the entity that owned the underlying land is shown to own the right-of-ways. Okay, so that's why you see what you see when you go on GIS and do some investigation of the ownership. So the question that was posed by some of y'all that we've been talking about is, what is the effect of that? So I went through and kind of, the best I could, tried to simplify and outline the law, Arkansas law, on how dedications are treated. Essentially, the thing that is the conceptual thing that you have to kind of overcome is that the dedication doesn't actually result in necessarily a transfer to the city, but it's an irrevocable act by the developer. So once the developer or whoever submits a plat has a dedication on there, say it's an easement or a right-of-way or a drainage structure, or sidewalk, something like that. Once that plat is dedicated, once that dedication is on the plat, it's marked on the plat. Once that plat is filed, and once there are sales that occur, like lot and block type sales instead of meets and bounds descriptions, you have lot and block sales that occur, that dedication becomes irrevocable. In other words, a landowner can't come back later and say, hey, you know that street that was in that plat, I'm going to take that back. That dedication is irrevocable. But the city's acceptance doesn't happen until they either adopt an ordinance to accept it, or they take some action to show ownership to improve it. So you think about, we have all these lots downtown that are on old plats from the 1900s, and over time, you all have had a lot of requests to vacate easements, right? There are lots of it's called railroad lots with easements in the back. Those easements are right-of-ways that are out there are on paper. If you go out on a lot of these lots and look, you can't see an actual roadway, right? They're just an easement. That right-of-way is there for the city to use. It may not, in 100 years, we may not have ever used First Street, for example. But we could go out there and do that, because we have an irrevocable dedication. 100 years later, the city can say, you know what, now we're going to build a road. Okay, and once you do that, you've accepted that dedication. So the question ultimately then is, what is the effect of having a plat where there isn't a dedication? And that's where it gets a little complicated, because I did find a case where the court actually discussed that issue. It's a case out of Springdale from the 1960s, 1970s era, where there was a plat that appeared to dedicate additional right-of-way to Highway 71. And the landowners came back later and said, we didn't actually, when the highway department was doing a project, they said, well, we didn't actually dedicate that, that right-of-way. And so the court, looked at that question about whether the dedication language of the plat needs to be there. They looked at a case in California where they said, you know, California State Court looked at a similar issue and decided that no, the dedication language did not need to necessarily be there if there was an indication or some type of an intent that you could get from the plat that there was an intent to dedicate. In our instance, you know, it's hard to tell. I put in the memo that there's no language to express an intent to dedicate, but there's also no language that shows an intent to reserve an interest. In other words, to say, I'm not dedicating these streets, I'm keeping these streets. However, and I outlined in kind of the memo there, I do believe that there has been, in this case, an irrevocable dedication, but I don't believe there's been an acceptance. So we're in a little bit of it's a bit of a limbo, and I apologize that this is, you know, such a weird issue. But, you know, I do believe that the city could take steps to accept the easements and the right-of-ways, but has been noted by a couple of you with concerns, and the mayor has expressed this to me as well, because I'm happy about it, is that, you know, the streets that were designed in that subdivision are subpar in the way that they conduct stormwater. We all know that, right? There's not curb and gutter. The stormwater facilities are inadequate, and so you know, that raises kind of an additional concern. However, on the other side, you have people who have bought lots, built houses, and then as Daniel and I talked about yesterday and a little bit before the meeting as well, is that you have utility easements through the subdivision. I sent you both plats as well, so you can look at it, but, you know, obviously every house is served by utility easement, and within those utility easements you have third-party utilities. You also have our water and sewer lines. You know, it's not a great position to be in to say, we're never going to accept that because we have utilities in the ground for at least the easements. And then you have the question of what to do on the right-of-ways. So I put the information out there so you all can have it there in a memo. Obviously free to share it, to pose questions to me, but I do think where we are on those is that in 2011 and 2016 there was an irrevocable dedication. But I think the next question for us to consider and talk about is what next. And you know, that may be kind of a longer discussion. Something that has come out of this, because we had another issue on an older subdivision earlier in the year where we met and we're looking at a drainage structure where we were surprised about what was dedicated in that particular plat and what was not, is we need to tighten up that review. And of course, these are legacy issues. One in particular is, you know, from a time when the city did not have the staff to review these things and was relying upon lay people on the planning commission. And now you do have that, but you know, there needs to be a system of checklists where we are really carefully looking at exactly what is being dedicated, so we know that when that happens, not only are the infrastructure being put to code to be able to handle stormwater, for example, but also that what is being dedicated is clear, and what is not being dedicated is also clear. There's some cases where you do not want to accept dedication of, say, a ditch or a drainage structure. That should be something that remains with the POA or some other entity. So, you know, we all think that needs to tighten up, just to make sure that we're not missing things in the future. But that's the situation with Fairway Valley. So, before I go on to the next question, are there any questions at this point? Erica, you're looking at me?
Yes. So, you think, because I wrote a question down, I was like, was the intent to keep it a private development to begin with? And that answer, based on what you're saying, is you don't think that was ever the intent?
I don't think it's said either way. Mayor and I argued about that yesterday, actually.
Because like Scissortail, their roads are private, and that's development,
right?
Right.
I think it's intent in that plat on that shows in that dedication specifically.
that they are private, so.
Right.
But I guess that's up in the air too, so.
There's not a gate. There's not a gate indicated on the plat. There's not any indication that it's reserved. So, like, you can't say either way.
With the developer
Because it
still
didn't-
around, we could ask him.
Yeah.
That was gonna be the next step. Has there been any communication with the developer to see, because you believe they may have intended to dedicate to the city, but then as a city, we're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place because they didn't, at that time, even put it up to code, did they?
I don't think it even met the code at the time that it was built, from what I
So-
understand. That's what I've been told. I haven't gone back to look, but that's what I've been told, because it doesn't meet the stormwater requirements.
And it never met the stormwater requirements back then. But they were private, so, and not on the plat for some reason.
I will, before the next work session, I'll reach out to the owner and see, if there's anything to add there. At that point, I think that's a good question to ask.
That would be great to know.
Sure.
I mean, if it's whatever they wanted, but if they had something in writing, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic. And that was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, or we go on to the next one? So the next one was, I received an email or two forwarded from a council member, also from the mayor, regarding road construction. So the question came from a citizen who had received notice of closure of the Murdoch, and the question was, how does this happen? Whose job is it? And so I thought I would discuss that just a little bit with you. When you have a development that goes through planning, we're talking about a couple of them here tonight, but such as the one that is happening on Murdoch, there are often off-site improvements. There are on-site improvements that happen, right? They're going to build with the property they own, streets, infrastructure, things of that nature. That's really not an issue because those roads aren't used until they're dedicated and they're open to the public. But for off-site improvements, we oftentimes will have improvements in the plans that are required to streets that aren't necessarily within the subdivision, maybe border the subdivision or lead to it, to improve access to lighting, those kind of things. And when that project gets approved, say at subdivision level, the preliminary plat gets approved at the planning commission, that is the authority for the contractor then to go out and start construction on the streets. When that happens, the city asks that the contractor notify the city when there's closures, when there's going to be detours, when there's going to be work. Spoken to the mayor about it. That information, once received, gets posted on city social media or our website, try to get the word out. The contractor also asked to spread the word, to let neighbors know, that sort of thing. In this particular instance, the contractor sent out notices to say, hey, while we work on Murdoch, it's going to be closed. The question was, is that proper that it be done by a contractor? I think maybe asking, should that not be done by the city? The explanation to that is it's almost always done by unless it's a city project, done by the contractor. The city doesn't have the manpower to kind of do the day-to-day scheduling that would require. We don't know when there are going to be deliveries. We do not know when there's going to be asphalt that's being laid or grading work or whatever the work may be. And so it's the contractor's responsibility to not only reach out to the property owners, to let them know, to let the city know, but also to have flaggers and proper kind of traffic warning type things out there on the road. So, in case y'all got questions about that, that's what the situation is. To my knowledge, that's the way it's handled in the other cities in Northwest Arkansas and outside, but if there were any questions or concerns about it, I wanted to, hear that from y'all and see if there's anything we can do.
Well, this is kind of like when the planning commission, or we have a public hearing, when it involves, well, I guess planning commission, when it involves a rezoning, it's whoever's going to rezone it, please correct me if I'm wrong, sends out the notices to those within so many feet of the property that's being rezoned. That is a requirement that they send their letters. So it's kind of along the same lines of a road closure, because the current construction they are doing is not been dedicated to the city yet, therefore they have to inform residents. Is that a good way to
It is.
summarize it?
It has the same effect. The only difference is with rezoning, you're required by state law to send out those. And it means it's something we ask them to do. To say, would you please, reach out to neighbors, to the property owners. And in some cases, in this case, they were doing it on their own too. They didn't necessarily have to send out a letter, but they did. So it was kind of a little extra. It's not required by state law.
So then, therefore, if the letter had the developer listed, the developer would know the answer to when's the approximate date the road would be open, because the city wouldn't know, because it's part of the construction. That just like when are they going to put up a house, that they have to have certain things in order. Is that a similar comparison?
That's correct. There may be days where the lane has to be closed. There may be days where it doesn't have to be closed, and so that's something that's very difficult for the city to manage on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's right for the city, of course, to be told in advance so it can push out the information. Plus, if it's going to be a problem, if we know that school is opening that day, the city can go to them and say, we can't do it on this day. We still control the right of way, we can do that, but they have permission to do that work because they have an approved project for that work.
Every resident, excuse me, and every resident, even with that road closed, has access to their home, correct?
I'm sorry?
Every resident, even with that road closed, has an access to their home, even with the road closure? Is that
I don't
correct?
know the answer to that question. I would assume that they do, but I don't know the answer to that. Somebody else might have. Will here, you might have to answer that, or Mayor, I don't know if you know.
The developers there, they would have the answer.
Sorry?
Like,
Developers,
everybody have
they
access to
would
their
have
house.
the
Okay.
So we reviewed the traffic control plan submitted by the contractor, and everybody should have access.
Everybody should have access to their home.
One-way access.
One way. So they might not be able to get out their typical way, but they do have a way in and out of their home.
And I guess that's a good point, Adam, that he just made, is that there's a traffic control plan that's submitted along with the project.
Yeah, somebody a couple weeks ago, and we reviewed that.
So a traffic control plan was submitted, reviewed by Public Works, and it meets the engineering standards. Everyone has access to their home, just might not be their typical route on their own.
And we also had to reach out to the school district and also the Denton County road department.
So you reached out to them, just repeating it because you don't mind it. Benton County Road Department, you reached out to the school as well. And
The
then
contractor.
the contractor did. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any questions on, I guess I call that road construction? Anybody might have? Okay, so I'll move to the last item, and that's the city's Facebook page. I'm gonna ask a couple people to bring that back up. There's some frustration with that particular issue. We talked about it before. I think, as you know, the city had a Facebook page, and it was taken down last year, as far as turned off, gone dark, and it was turned back on, I guess earlier this year. Name changed, and is posting sort of private, not city, but private content. If you scroll back far enough on it, as you know, you get to what the city content used to host. It's got string meetings, it's got agendas, city notices such as road closures, oil orders, anything of that nature. Quite simply, when this was brought to my attention, I reached out to the attorney for Ms. Hutchinson, and to look into it, reply back saying that there was last year, Sections reached out to Mark Hayes, who's the executive director of the Municipal League, and asked a question. The question was more or less that the Facebook page had been set up for the city a long time ago, maybe 10 years in the past, and had been tied to a personal email account. And so the question was asked to Mr. Hayes, concerned about that, can I shut the site down? So that was kind of used as a justification for kind of what it is now. I reached out and talked to Mr. Hayes recently, showed him.
Can you clarify again who Mr. Hayes is?
He's the executive director of the Arkansas Municipal League.
Okay.
He responded back. I informed him what kind of has happened now, where the site has been renamed as being used for personal kind of non-city business, and he was very concerned about that. And said, in no way was his response that the site could be co-opted or taken. That what he was asked about whether it should be or whether it could be shut down, and that's what he had responded to. So reached back out to such as his attorney, but I feel like we're at a bit of an impasse on it. I think it is a city asset. I think it's clear that it was the city's Facebook page for 10 years. Everything about it indicates that it was called that. It was reflected as the city's Facebook page. I think the problem is now it's not being used for that purpose. It's being used for personal purposes, and all those users who were following that kind of went with it. City real property, city personal property is under the purview of the council. Whenever we want to buy or certainly we want to sell real property, or we want to sell, a big piece of equipment or something like that, that comes to you all for approval. And I think this is no difference. You have custody control of that, and I think it's up to you to decide what you want to do on that. So I don't know if any questions or any parts of this you want me to try to
Do you have any rebuttal of that?
I'm sorry.
To the Justin's opinion that it is city property?
Apparently, he's talking to my attorney, so I can't comment.
Can't comment, okay. I would absolutely agree with you. If I go to buy a business and I want the social media for that, I'm going to pay some amount of money, whether that's $1 or $5,000 or $10,000 for the rights to the social platform. So in my opinion, you retain followers under Unjust Enrichment that you just took over the account that had been used for the city account for 10 years before that, correct? And now we're using it to post political fun people and post opinions that I think many followers don't understand and think it's still some affiliation with the city, which it's not at all. And I mean, you can make it simple and just shut it down or make it hard. And I think we're just stepping back into the same thing over and over instead of trying to move forward. So I would like you to say, I'll just shut it down. I'll use my Kimberly Hutchins for clerk thing to post my political beliefs or vote fun at people on the council, but obviously that's not something we're going to do, I guess. Okay, now I've got another question.
I just want to say I agree with your comment. If it's a city asset, it needs to be in city control. I don't think just like you said, if a business is sold, they retain the social media. There was no selling here. You did it under official capacity as the city clerk treasurer, and you are trusted with that. And if you are telling me it's a city asset, to have it out of city control, I believe is unacceptable. So the question is, what's next?
Well, to this point, we've simply been handling this by conversations. I think if you all want to authorize me to take the next step, it would be the filing of a lawsuit to get it back. And, we can see whether, there's responses.
I'm tired of spending money on stuff that we could very easily just say, okay, I'm not going to do it. But I think that, my personal attorney's ready to file a lawsuit. And one of the things that's irritating to me is it's so one-sided. Let me go back to my question. Here's one of the posts that someone sent to me because I've been blocked on the page. I can't believe no one wanted to run for mayor. Susie Everhart Fairley, sorry for the pronunciation if I'm saying it wrong. There are several people who consider running for mayor, but the bigger question is who wants to step into office and inherit the mayor's overspending and huge financial risk the city is now facing. This is exactly why the city council needs to start asking the tough questions during public council meetings where residents can hear the discussion and understand what is happening with their tax dollars. The council needs to question spending, ask for explanations, and make sure the public understands the financial decisions being made. So I pose this question to you. Why were the payroll taxes not filed timely? Why, when the notices were received, were we not notified as a council? And why did you spend we had to spend taxpayer money to fix the problems that you caused? So there's a tough question. If you want to do it one-sided, we can come back at this all day long. But the simple thing to do would act with integrity, which when I saw one of your campaign slogans, it said integrity, I said, hell, my English degree means nothing because I obviously don't know what the word means. And for you to stand there and say, I'm running on an integrity platform with what you did with $127,000 worth of penalties, don't shake your head at me.
I'm not here for a council meeting for you
You asked me, you gave me permission right here.
How do you even know that's me?
So our city asset has been taken over by somebody else besides an elected official?
You don't have any idea.
Oh, so
And the council and the city had never asked in the beginning to start that.
I don't think anybody had a problem with it until you started posting political cartoons. And if you want to come clean right now and say it's not you and say who it is, that would be fine.
Which one of
Hey, sir, I'll have it. It's not a discussion for you. It's not public comment.
Okay, then here it is. Justin has been talking to my attorney.
Okay.
It needs to be dropped. Period. At this
there's
point,
no lawsuit.
our attorneys are involved in it,
Okay.
and it needs, this conversation needs to stop.
I'm asking I'm doing exactly what you said should be done to merit you, and
Then
you
you
don't
need
like
to
it.
address your attorney and my
Okay,
attorney.
I have my own attorney, and I can deal with it tomorrow as well.
So,
If you want to spend a lot more money on this than we have to, we can. Okay, I think it's time to stop, it's time to move forward as a city. This isn't helping,
If you
and
have
I'm
a
doing.
request, then you need to have it to Justin, and Justin needs to
Absolutely. I would
request it to my
absolutely
attorney.
do that.
It's that simple.
Mayor,
Let's
let me
bring it under order.
Let me make a couple things clear. First of all, I have to have these discussions. We're in a meeting, I've been asked, this is a matter of public concern. It can be uncomfortable, but here we are. Secondly, I think just to make it clear, on anybody's private page, whatever they post, certainly political speech is fully protected. I think we all understand that the issue here is the fact that it was the city's Facebook page. And up until a year ago, or earlier this year, where that changed. So, ultimately, again, it being city property, my strong opinion that it's within your purview to decide, what to do. I would prefer that it would be something that we could work out. I do think we could work it out, but I don't think that page can be used going forward, or should be used for personal reasons, because it's a public asset.
I agree.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think we're gonna let Justin proceed with a negotiation, if you wanna call it that, or shutting it down or whatever, and if it takes a lawsuit to do it, then let's go ahead and do it.
Is that a motion?
Make it a motion.
I second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And it was unanimous.
That's all I had. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
All right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the clerk treasurer's report.
I haven't got anything.
Okay. Next item is the mayor's report. These are exciting times for Cave Springs. Last week, the Walmart Neighborhood Market development in Cave Springs was announced. We have been working with the developers and the engineers and RDOT in preparation for this development. We're also working with a fast food restaurant. I'm pleased to report that another grocery store has purchased land in Cave Springs with plans to build as well. These development opportunities and potentially others were made possible through the work that we have undertaken over the past few years. The land swap, infrastructure improvement projects, and planning work and agreements with other cities have helped to provide water, sewer, and for the neighborhood market and the Cave Springs locations for the other two developments. As the city's economy continues to grow, these developments will soon be added to the others we have worked with over the past few years. With the completion of the water tower, and if the financing of this project can be done outside of the water rate structure as we hope, we can look at an early review of the water rate study and probably amend them accordingly. Currently, development is made possible by the vision and actions of the last 2 years are a great step forward for the Cave Springs future, making these exciting times for people who live in and around Cave Springs. All right, thank you. Next item is public comments. Do we have anyone?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Steve Morris, 9588 Phillips Lane in Cave Springs. As been highlighted tonight even, most of you know, section of Murdoch Road has been closed to traffic for paving. It's currently a dirt road north of Phillips Lane. And it started Monday. Dozer work started today. And upon my inspection, my property, the west side of my property, abuts Murdoch Road currently. And we've had an agreement in there for an easement for since 2022 for water and sewer to go through that west side. Water's been put in, sewer's not been put in yet. Fence has not been put back up. And in talking with the mayor, he said that wasn't in the agreement. It was in the original agreement. I thought a handshake was good, but I guess it isn't these days. But today, when I came back, the dozer had taken out my entire fence line. Our understanding was the pavement was going to go over the existing road bed. I've not seen any drawings to the contrary. So they've taken out the fence, they dug almost up to the telephone pole. My north-south fence that abutted Murdoch was 1 foot to the west of these telephone poles. They had pink property, purple property paint on them. Total disregard, they were flattened. They weren't taken out, they weren't saved, they weren't offered to me. 44 of them go up to 440-foot span. I'd like to request a new drawing, for a start, of all the improvements that are planned there, water, the sewer, the gas. Talking with the dozer operator today, he said, oh, well, I said, where's my fence gonna be? He said, it's gonna be over there where that green eco line is. And he said, I've got to dig more, so your fence is gone, but I've got to dig more because I've got to put in a ditch or a culvert there. I don't have copies for everyone in the council, sorry. Got 4 you can share. And you see the first a diagram there. That was back in 22, the PUE and the TCE construction easement and utility easements. And you see Murdoch Road there. And I think it was about a 32-foot wide road. He didn't tell me how wide it was proposed. But as we touched on tonight, this is exactly what happens when you let a developer do a city job. Roads are city, not a developer's willy-nilly, getting a dozer in there and plowing everything out. I don't know how wide that road's going to be. So we're upset about that. We think the city can make it right. You know, we talked earlier about who's responsible, development sending out notices or the city sending out notices. Well, this is another confusing point. The developer sent out notices under Cave Springs Planning Commission signature. Didn't sign it, but put the title there. That's not right. What I'm personally asking for my property, and to make it a little bit right, is the city to put in a fence line on the eastern side of the TCE, the eastern TCE, putting metal corner posts. And I have a bigger problem because when this was all planned out before and the city agreed to it, I would buy 2 16-foot fences, gates, for a 32-foot wide entrance to my pasture. That's the only way heavy equipment can get in there. And you'll see that on the southwest portion of that first diagram. Number 6 is the existing gate structure. And the dozer operator said that's all going to be gone because they're going to move the telephone poles also that are there. So I'll have not a good entrance to my pasture for heavy equipment, long hay trailers, hay equipment. And I need that. And that was the reason for the 32 foot. So my proposal is halfway up that 440-foot section, 220 feet or thereabouts, to put an access, because now I understand there's going to be a culvert, ditch, whatever, but I have to have a whistle through there to get up into my property where the gates need to be relocated. As the original agreement stated, I would provide all the materials. I went out and I bought barbed wire, clips, some T-posts. When they put the sewer line in, they crushed some of the fence T-posts. Not all of them. But now everything's gone. So I'd like the city to make that right. I think you see the 8 points on my list there. The second page is the basically the original plat of my property as it went over, and I drew kind of the estimated PUE and TCE that was on there. So property line went out into basically the middle of Murdoch, the way it was. So yeah, I'd like a revised drawing of what this whole thing is going to look like if one doesn't exist already, and addressing my issues. I'm open for any questions the council has, either tonight or in the future. I know it's probably a lot to look over, and not everybody's real familiar with the way the lay of the land is.
On the second page, where it's Murdoch in red bricks.
Yeah, you'll see, I put the north, south, east, west references. You gotta turn the page.
Where's Murdoch? Okay, because it's a county road, so I was like, This is it. These aren't long term. So there was just right here. So right here. Mayor, I did have a.
Okay, we'll be having this looked at.
Okay.
We'll address it.
Appreciate it.
We've got to actually put eyes on everything
Yeah.
and determine what was done, and it'll be addressed.
Put eyes on it quickly, because it changes by the hour, it looks like out there. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I'm responsible for the damage to Mr. Morris's property, and we're happy. We had made attempts to contact the property owner. We would have paid to relocate his fence. If he wanted a gate, we would have paid for the gate. We were happy to do those things. We just didn't have a chance to talk to him. So my offer tonight is whatever is decided after you do your review, we would be happy to be a part of that repair and make sure the property owner is satisfied.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next item on the agenda is follow-up drainage. Is there anything, we have started a new drainage committee, and that committee has not yet met. I'm in the process of putting the books together, and we will be looking at schedules later this week. So that is the first thing. Do you have anything further going on with drainage at the moment?
No, other than some internal meetings, coordinating some additional reviews, for all submittals, that's it. As we've talked about it, some of the other things that have been on.
Okay. Any other discussion? Next item is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a contract in order to sell one international fire engine. Do I hear a motion to approve? Got a motion by Jeremy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Erica. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And that was approved. Next, what's our resolution number?
2026-31.
Next item is the resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2007 Chevy Silverado from the Fire Association for Public Works. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do I hear a second? Second. Motion by Erica, second by Jeremy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And that also passed. That's resolution 32. Next item is ordinance to amend section 30.02 City Council Administration ordinance. Do I hear a motion to approve? Well, no. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, place it on third and final reading by title only?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Jeremy, second by Mike. Roll call?
Mark,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
Would this be ordinance number 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ordinance number 2026-14, City of Case Springs, Benton County, Arkansas, an ordinance to amend section 30.02, City Council Administration of the City of Case Springs Municipal Code, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by, Mike, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Jeremy. Any discussion? Roll call.
Erica,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. Is there an emergency clause?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve the emergency clause?
So moved.
Got a motion by Erica, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Jeremy. Roll call.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to rezone approximately 5 acres of real property. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules and place this on third and final reading?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mark. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Chris. Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Justin.
Ordinance number 2026-15, City of Case Springs, Benton County, Arkansas, ordinance to rezone approximately 5 or less acres of real property located at Benton County parcel number 05-10045-140 from general agriculture A1 to residential estates RE in the City of Case Springs, Arkansas.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Motion by Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Jeremy. Any discussion? All in favor, or roll call?
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
That was approved. Last item on the agenda is a ordinance to rezone approximately 48 acres. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules and place this on third reading?
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeremy. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second by Mark. Roll call.
Mark,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Ordinance number 2026-16, City of Case Springs, Benton County, Arkansas, ordinance to rezone approximately 48 acres of real property located at Benton County parcel numbers 05-10259-000 and 05-10249-095 from general agriculture A1 to planned zoning development PZD in the City of Case Springs, Arkansas.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Got a motion by Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Jeremy. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
How big are these lots going to be for the residents?
On the,
Yes, sir. But I mean, the intent, as we said in the discussion, they're going to be bigger than that, but minimum, we can only do 75.
Minimum what?
75-foot wide lots, and then 9,100 square feet.
I guess what I'm getting at is it going to be 4 houses per acre or 3 or what?
Yes, sir. It'll follow a long line of SFS. Sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head. 3. It'll be similar to those, to that ordinance or that zoning. So are you running about the density?
Yes.
Oh,
So,
no.
if you go to this page, right here, they have a site layout plan, and they have to put, you know, standard zoning in there, so they're trying to stick with a fairly standard zoning that they have like R3. But the actual number of lots per acre, I mean, I think y'all are getting, like, if you look at the entire land, you're getting like roughly 2 lots per acre because of all of the green space and all of the vegetation that they're doing. Can you see all that? Yeah, I mean, I mean, that's actual closer to what your count will actually be, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Correct.
So you can see the topography falls off on this backside. This is actually where our sewer line runs to, so we could get into it. So all of this is actual open green space vegetation that they're putting in. So there's a lot of unused land actually on this property.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, that's the intent, is to try to preserve that natural green space, tree preservation area, and creek system is the point of the PZD.
Thank you.
I did have a question. Just to reiterate, you did send out notices, you didn't hear back from anybody, as you stated in the work session. And then, could you point out where that extra green space is that you could use for drainage, and how are the engineers are they going to look at it to determine what is the, I think it's right here. Is that right here? So how are you going to determine if you do need that? Because as we know, water is a huge issue, and I like that you're preserving a lot of green space in this development, and you have those natural ponds, but to me, more drainage is better. So I just kind of wanted to know how you determine if you're next between the yellow and the orange. Is that where
You're talking about the actual pond and the oversized pond that they talked about?
they said that they would possibly use this area for extra drainage? To me, we have a lot of issues with drainage in town, so the more they can preserve and slowly release, the better off I think all residents are, but I do understand there's a ton of green space. So my question is, how do you determine if that needs to have a pond or if it can stay green space?
I mean, it's based on City of Cave Springs. They have the standard drainage manual, but I will assure you we cannot adversely impact downstream. I mean, that's just like standard Arkansas, but we will follow Cave Springs stormwater manual that we will have to adhere and detain on our site with any impervious we add. Hopefully that answers your question.
Just anything with drainage is a huge concern, so. David, what's your answer, I guess?
My answer is that, you know, this is zoning, so we don't have.
So you would look at that at the preliminary plat?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the end answer. We don't have all of the answers, which is what they're saying. They're reserving space so they can do that. They're anticipating it, but we don't fully have that answer yet because they haven't done the full engineering required for us to even review it. I don't think they've reviewed anything engineering-wise on.
Okay, that's great, but so that you will be paying attention to that whole engineering side and the city side, whether that needs to be a drainage pond or can be preserved as green space. But you do have a lot of green space there, which is great. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, that is passed.
Thank you.
Is there any further comments, or I'd entertain a motion to adjourn?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Sorry. I remember when this development, in regards to Mr. Morris from Murdoch, I remember specifically that concerns about cattle and gates and everything was going to be preserved. So I hope the developer can get with the city to make things right for him, because he didn't deserve what happened to his land. And us as a council, we're not part of those day-to-day operations, so when I got those emails, first thing I did is forward it to Justin, because he's the one we go to, and he communicates well with the engineer and public works. So I hope that can be rectified soon, and if not, I hope you email again and let us know, And,
We're coming back.
Thank you for.
well, I hope it gets fixed before the next council meeting. I hope you don't have to come back, but if you email, again, that would be extremely frustrating on my part, but we'll do our best to try to help you. So, thank you.
Anything else? Got your motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Mark, second by Eric, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
No, I mean,